Hi, I'm Lydia with Revelation Real Estate, and today in Solving Life's Next Chapter, I want to first put a shout out to our two sponsors. We have Savior Hospice and Palliative, and we have Dispatch Health, which is an urgent mobile services. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Grandpa, when you get out better, can we go fishing?
How about next weekend?
Really? Grandma told Mommy that you were really sick.
I was, but thanks to Mommy and Dispatch Health, I'm good as new.
What's Dispatch Health, Grandpa?
Remember when you broke your leg and Mom and Dad took you to the hospital?
Yeah?
That whole building, with the equipment they need, turns into a car with medical people inside, and they come to your home.
What did Mommy do?
She put this app on my phone. I tapped the app, and Dispatch Health made a house call. I never left the house.
Quality in-home medical care is at your fingertips, and it starts by downloading the free Dispatch Health app. Learn more by visiting dispatchhealth.com, and we'll send the mobile app directly to you, just like the healthcare we provide.
You know, Grandpa, I want to be a Dispatch Health person when I grow up.
Dispatch Health accepts Medicare and most insurance. dispatchhealth.com.
And today in Solving Life's Next Chapter, we have Sarah Perkins with Lawyer's Title. Thanks, Sarah, for coming.
Thanks for having me, Lydia.
So today we're going to talk about affordability in housing, and we've brought some statistics with us. Everybody thinks that there's a big bubble. Some people think that there isn't. You and I have gone to a couple of meetings in the last couple of months. One was with Tina, who's our local kind of economic stats person here in Arizona, but we also went to one a couple months ago, and that was with who was that with?
Dr. Lawrence Yoon, who's the chief economist for NAR.
Yeah, and so he had a lot of good statistics and data on what's going on in just general Arizona, or just general real estate in general. But he specifically talked about Arizona because we have a little niche here that's a little different than most people in other states. Yes. So Sarah brought us some slides. So let's look at the first slide that you brought us. So that talks about the immigration of who's moving in, who's moving out. So let's talk about that first.
Well, if we back up really quick before we kind of dive into that, when we look at housing affordability, it is measured at a national level, national scale, but it's really felt in the local market, and the local, felt locally.
Right.
So we're looking at kind of two moving parts, and what does that mean for us here in Arizona,
right,
and then of course across the country.
Right.
So when you look at it, there's been a lot of information out there about people leaving a lot of the cold, super expensive cities.
Yep.
New York, Chicago, all up and down the West Coast,
Yep.
Seattle, LA, San Francisco. I mean, their prices are just astronomical. So
Right.
They're coming here because it's
affordable.
It's affordable. We're
Yeah.
the cheapest big city in the country. So
Right.
when we look at some of these, or we have been, but they're trying to change some things there with pushing all of the prices
Home
up.
prices up, yeah.
Exactly. So when you look at that on the first chart that we have, and we're looking at people are leaving, and it's no surprise that people are leaving New Jersey, Illinois, New York, Connecticut. Not really sure why Kansas is on that list, but
They probably aren't going to be moving after the Super Bowl, but that's just
Right.
my own opinion.
Could be that or Missouri. Yep.
But a lot of those states are more. They do cost more money.
Yes.
There are more taxes.
Yes.
And people, I think, are getting that. The baby boomers are finding that they can sell their homes and move to more affordable states like Arizona.
And they want the sun.
Yeah.
People are coming. They're coming to Texas, Vegas, Phoenix, Atlanta, kind of across the South. They really want to be in places that it's more desirable to be there and more affordable.
Right.
So the combination of both of those things takes it. So you take a median sales price in San Jose, California, and it's $1.2 million.
Right.
They go liquidate their regular house there. Now they want to move to Arizona. Their options are different.
Right.
It's a different story.
Yep.
And 30% of the people moving here to Phoenix are coming from Los Angeles County. The next biggest group is San Diego County, and the third largest is Cook County.
Interesting. Okay. So let's talk about, obviously, it's all in perspective, but Arizona is still a very affordable. I know we in Arizona kind of don't think that way because we see a lot of issues with, obviously right now, we don't have a lot of inventory.
Correct.
Prices are going up, which is a good thing if you're selling. If you're buying, that's not quite as desirable, but you've got some other stats here for us as well.
I do. So if you look at the income, it's slide 2, and it talks about the income, the average income of the people who are moving here. And 52% of the people moving here are making over $100,000 a year.
Right.
So it's also giving them more leverage to buy more properties that otherwise would,
sit on the market a little
sit on
longer.
the market a
Yep.
little longer, keep prices down. But by having so much of our inventory eaten up and people have the flexibility, all the prices are coming up.
Right. And someone that's coming in with a $100,000 yearly income versus maybe someone who's lived here that maybe is only making $50,000 or $60,000 a
Right.
year. It's a whole different set of houses that each category person can afford, basically.
And right now what's very interesting is the two largest buying and selling generations right now are millennials and baby boomers. Right now nobody cares about Gen X. it's the millennials and the baby boomers.
And they mimic each other as far as their age.
They're fighting for the same house.
Yeah.
They both want that single story, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,800 square foot house, which was 1,500 square foot. That was the starter home that a lot of us, when we first got into the market, that's what we bought, and we paid $150,000.
Yep.
Today, that house is around $300,000.
Right.
And if you've been here and moving up in that kind of growing up and saving for your down payment and living in Arizona, when you have 64% of people who are selling their house or rebuying in the same market, you're looking at, it's putting some pressure on the people who are here because it's pushing our inventory low.
Right.
And our inventory was low to begin with.
Right. It was definitely low. And we're in a situation now, just the other day I was out with someone and I think there were multiple offers, and we were just looking at it for the first time.
Yes.
And that was less than 24 hours being on the market. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's priced right, and if we're talking really under $350,000, it's not shocking to get 40 offers, 30 offers. And, that's also pushing waiving contingencies like an appraisal contingency. And what does that mean? Or inspections. And it's just changing the dynamic of what people are capable of doing.
And sellers are going with those offers that maybe are maybe not a first-time home buyer that's not asking for closing costs or down payment, or just they're waiving everything so that they can actually get the house.
Absolutely.
So that they're so that they feel like they would be the top one to be picked for that person.
I mean, they're doing everything. We're seeing escalation clauses. We're seeing a lot of different things happening that is absolutely pushing the envelope and then pushing prices up. One thing Tina Tambor at the Cromford Report said is she wouldn't be surprised if we saw values increase 10% this year.
Right.
Healthy appreciation is 2 to 4%. If we have 10% appreciation, it's just... It locks too many people out of the market. Now all of a sudden we can't have the buy-up movers. We don't have the first-time home buyers. It really puts a damper on affordability, which is what we're here to talk about, is just how can people continue to do the typical process that really pushes our economy. 13% of the U.S. GDP is real estate related. Whether it's, the new carpet for the new house, house shopping, anything like that, that's a really big number. And if they start to, if that starts coming down, that's going to be a big challenge for us.
And when people do buy new homes or resale homes, they do go out and they buy carpet and paint and they buy appliances. So it affects more than just the house itself. It affects all of it.
Absolutely. So. And if we, just to show a little bit more about some of the reasons for our low inventory is if you look at slide number 3, it talks about total job growth in the last 20 years. Now, this came from the presentation Lydia and I went to from Dr. Lawrence Yoon, and he was saying, okay, you know what? Nationally, we've had 16% job growth since 2000 to today. That's awesome. Phoenix has had 42%. we're 2.5 times the national job growth.
Yeah.
So again, and these are high paying jobs as we went
Right.
over. Again, it's putting more people that are coming here, and that's just going to continue to put pressure on our inventory.
Right. And I think too, a lot of people, so I think a lot of people feel that, or I've heard, and I know you have too, Sarah, is that there is a bubble coming, and people are like, oh my gosh, it's going to be 2005 all over again, and we're going to have all these issues. And I know both presentations that we went to for Arizona, that was not the case.
Correct.
And so let's talk about that as well.
So you can look at, and kind of in regards to the bubble, I'm going to hop around.
Yeah,
so
go
if
ahead.
you want to look at slide number 4, this chart is this is a national on housing starts, but
Yep.
if you look at this orange line, where we are today, in where new builds are starting, and this is again nationally, we are about where we were in 1991.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's so low, because when our market crashed in 2008, builders just quit building.
Right.
And the thing is nationally we are 5 or 6 million units behind where we should be just to handle today's population.
Right.
In Phoenix, that was just magnified.
Right.
It is happening even more so. So we have very low inventory, both because we're not having the new builds coming on, and people aren't selling. The average amount of time people are in their home is a little longer.
Right.
The very biggest difference between what we went through in 2005 and what we're going through today when in regards to inventory is this is real demand. It's called true
Right.
demand versus false demand.
Right.
In 2005, people were parking money in houses because in 2005, houses appreciated 45%.
Right.
We all in here flinched at 10%. So when you're thinking about these, it's not really comparable.
Right.
Our inventory was low then, yes, but people were parking money. Rents were actually going down in 2005.
Yep.
Today, rents are increasing at the same pace that single family or, that residential real estate is increasing.
Right.
Phoenix was the number one fastest rent increase city in the country at 8% in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
The other thing, too, that I don't think people realize as well is that back in 2005, the lending rules were very laxed. So anybody basically with a pulse could get a loan.
Absolutely.
And so the lending has gotten much stricter, and people actually have to have good FICO scores or decent FICO scores, and they have to have a job, and they have to they verify all of those things, and not that they didn't verify them before, but it wasn't as tight as it was now. So the people that are getting the loans are actually quality people that can actually afford to buy a home. So that also has changed.
Yes. Because as we, over the last bunch of years, pulled ourselves out of what happened in 2005, 6, 7, we are at the lowest rate that this country's seen in like 20 years of foreclosures. We're not having a lot of loan defaults. Things are very good in that because the loans are going to people who intend to pay them and continue to pay them. Yes, we understand life happens, but the levels are just so low.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that's why that's why I think it's a different market as well, because I don't think people are just in this big, oh my gosh, we're in a bubble and we're going to pop, but we're not going to pop because of all these different reasons. And Arizona, as Dr. what's his name?
Lawrence Yun.
Lawrence. Yeah, he said Arizona is one of the best, he said for real estate, Arizona is one of the best places. And it wasn't just going to be this year. He was forecasting years from now. So he it was amazing to see the stats that he had for Arizona. I was just shocked.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the next slide, which is we're going to talk about the net worth that comparison. And I like this slide that you put together here, Sarah. So tell us about this particular slide.
So what's really interesting when you look at slide number 5, it talks about net worth comparisons from whether or not the biggest one is if you're a homeowner versus a renter.
Right.
We want to encourage home ownership as much as possible. It's almost like a forced savings account.
Yep.
We know Americans are not super awesome at saving. So, like if there's a way that we can help encourage
Right.
people to save, and we know that there's just tons of vehicles out there available to help people get into homes.
Right.
They just get confused or distracted, especially when you throw around words like it's a bubble or keep renting, things like that.
Right.
And really what we want to pay attention to is nationally our home ownership levels are about 63%.
Okay.
We got up to like 64, 65. It's not ever, you don't see huge swings, but we have been over the last 15 years going down.
Right.
And one thing when you look at overall, what does this mean? And if we start getting to the point where if we have 50% of Americans are renters,
Right.
well, that means 50% of the voters are renters,
Right.
which means a lot of, what does Congress do is they listen to their, constituents. Is that
Yeah.
the right word? Okay.
Yep.
And, they listen to them. And if half of them are renters, they're going to want benefits for renting versus,
Right.
who needs those perks for those homeowners because
Right.
there's not very many of them anymore.
Right.
So that could really change the face of this industry
Right.
or our whole economy. We just talked about 13% of, and GDP has like 97 zeros behind it. Like,
Yeah.
it's too delicate to risk losing it. And
Right.
so there are ways to stay on top of this affordability issue, watching it. I mean, and one thing Dr. Lawrence Yun said, one thing Tina Tambor is saying is if you want to buy a house, rates are low.
Yep.
Do it now.
Buy now,
buy
yes.
now.
Both of them said that
Buy
because
now.
both of them did project that that housing prices will go up over the
Continue
next
going up.
5 years, and
Yeah.
and that for those people that are like sitting on the fence saying, "Oh, I should wait," both of them said, and these are both people that are statistical data. They look at statistical
Yes.
data to see the way things go, and
Yes.
both of them said, buy now because in 3 to 4 years you're still going to be it's going to take years to get back down to where we are now.
For sure.
And we don't know what our interest rates are going to be back then. So
No.
so the fact that our interest rates are so low, now is the time to buy.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
And if you look at certain cities, Chandler increased 50% in the last
Yep.
3 years. Gilbert increased 50% in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mesa's increased like 40%. I mean, these numbers are so big. And we know that that's just continuing. Get in now and
Yep.
benefit from that. So then when we look at these net worth comparisons,
Right.
they're on that higher side because it really sets you up for life. And then in dollars, like look at that, 250,000 to like 4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
And Dr. Lawrence Yun said, hey, what it means for millennials, be nice to your grandparents.
Yeah.
Love that joke, but it's true.
Well, and I think too the millennials, a lot of them are at the age now where they're in their 30s and they get a bad rap, but a lot of them they've got great jobs and they are starting to have kids, and those are the ones that are starting to look for homes because
Absolutely.
they want that stability for their
Yes.
family. So they work hard, but they play hard, but they also want a nice home too. They don't really want the fixer-uppers. They want the ones that are move-in
HGTV,
ready. Yeah.
And millennials are the most educated
Yeah.
generation out there. They're doing their homework.
Yeah.
They are doing the research, but it's also up to everybody within the industry to be able to explain what's happening.
Absolutely.
And, the last slide, it may take a minute to kind of fully explain what we're looking at.
Yep.
But slide number 6, it kind of shows if you take a $285,000 house, which
Yep.
now is a little below the median sales price for Maricopa County.
Right.
If you take a $285 for that really general, I think it was like 1,500 square foot house, that
Yep.
same house, you can rent it for the median rental price is around $1,500, and your payment could be, if you were to buy it based on this slide, is $1,716. So why would
Right.
anybody want to spend an extra $200 on the same house,
Right.
or $200 a month on the same
house?
on the same house? But it really talks about, well, with the zero appreciation, and if you live in your house 5 years, the average person is living in their house 7 to 10 years.
Yep.
It has gone down where people aren't moving like they used to.
Right.
So even if we say 5 years, typical for you to make your money back is about 3 years,
Right.
at least here in Phoenix. But if you own that house, made your payments of that $1,716 every month for 5 years, you go to sell. If there was zero appreciation,
Yep.
you'd still have an extra $40,000 of equity that you could use to put down on your next house.
Yeah.
If there was modest appreciation of 2% a year, now all of a sudden you've gained an extra $30,000 on top of that $40,000.
Right.
Now you have $70,000.
Yep.
So even when you start looking at these numbers, we really want to continue to encourage people to look at buying and what they can do to get into it, because it is the way to keep people in the market and continue to look at how can they leverage and make money off of their investment, but also understanding there are so many benefits of the homeowner
Absolutely.
that we don't want to lose as we're looking at this appreciation.
Right.
What will change this appreciation is if everybody decides to list their house at the same exact time. I don't know. We would still need 30,000 new listings in Phoenix, Pinal County, or Maricopa and Pinal County to get normal.
Yeah, and I don't think we talked about this, but there's between, 2 and 250 people are moving into Arizona a day.
Yeah, they said 250 to 300 a day.
250 to 300 a day. It's crazy. And they're not all coming from California like everybody thinks. They're coming from a multitude of places.
Absolutely.
For different reasons. And we still are getting our winter visitors coming out, and they will winter for a couple of years, and then they will come out and purchase.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we're getting a lot of those from California and from and from New York, because they do have higher taxes, and some of my buyers that are coming from, say, New York, New York is kind of a different breed as far as selling. They're having a harder time selling their homes before coming here. So some of them it's taking,
particularly in the luxury market.
Yep, it's taking 6 to 12 months to actually sell their home, but once they do, they're coming here with a large amount of money to purchase the new home. So California is a little different. They are kind of the same way we are. Their homes are moving pretty quickly at this point as well. So,
yes, they are.
And they've got a different economic situation with foreigners moving into their state. So they aren't having the same issues as New York is as far as selling their homes.
Right, because people still want to be in California.
Right.
They just don't want to go to New York.
So it makes a huge difference. But for Arizona, as far as that's concerned, and two, we've had a couple of people on our podcast show that companies that are coming here that are just going to explode with people moving in here.
Yes.
Bill Gates even bought a huge parcel on the west side of town, and
server farms.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why people are coming to Arizona. We are close to California. A lot of businesses are coming from California because they can still ship out and send their goods through California bases, basically. So both east and west sides of Phoenix are feeling the pinch of not having housing. It's not just one side or the other. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And it really is fueled by developing job centers. There's some really good websites, interactive websites, that will show you where these developing job centers are. You look along the new 202 as it's going to be available really soon.
Right.
There's things there where we're just the people who are having most successful flips, people are having fastest growth in, what's the word I'm looking for, coming and buying in that particular area. Because in the high end, now we're talking more than, we're talking like 3, 4, 5 million and up. That market has gotten a little more stagnant. Right. But everywhere else, and I'm kind of in my map in my head, that's PV right here. All around is the rest of us. And it's interesting because this is happening across the board. Yep. And even when you look at the Cromford Market Index for the real estate people here, because it's only available in Phoenix, our inventory is 52% below where we should be to be in normal balanced market. That's such a significant number down. Right. And another reason why people are coming here to buy is some of them can't afford to buy in, say, Washington, D.C. They'll buy property out here so they can get the perks of a benefit of being a
owning
homeowner.
home. Right,
Yeah.
right. I've had a few do that from California too. They'll rent in California, but they'll buy in Arizona, and their CPAs have told them that they have to buy.
I think it makes sense, and these are all reasons people are coming here, and they're different agendas,
Right.
which again points at why it's not a bubble.
Right. Right. And I do believe that we are going to see a lot of job growth. I mean, not just job growth, but housing growth over the next few years. And, it's funny because Tina will never take her crystal ball out and say anything, but the stats
past the current year.
Yeah, but the stats that she does show, we are in a great market right now, and the growth is good. Even people that just purchased in the last couple of years have seen just huge amounts of equity in their
Yes.
home. My daughter's one, she bought a little townhome, and it's gone up like $80,000.
And she got in at what, 20?
At 20, yep, at 20. So
See, that's huge for her.
It's
That
huge.
sets her up in a way that, most people getting in their 30s
right.
don't get to
Right.
have.
Yeah, I say too, if somebody can afford a home even at a younger age, they don't have to be like, I have family members that are dating and they're not quite ready to buy a home because they're not married yet. I personally would recommend them buying a house now and not wait for the potential spouse.
ring.
because the market is changing so
Absolutely.
rapidly, and honestly, if you can buy a house when you're in your 20s, it really sets you
Yes.
up for more success when you get to be older.
You do your buy-up house at 27,
Yep.
and when I was 29 when I bought my first house.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time
A
that
big
you
difference. Yep, that
miss
you
out
can,
on.
Yeah, that you can make a lot of, and like you said, it's a guaranteed savings account for those folks that own homes.
Yeah.
And it does help the economy because people are buying, when they buy a home, they also do go and upgrade tile and carpet
Absolutely.
and appliances, and so it affects everybody, not just the house itself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's why when our market crashed in 2008, we felt it across everything.
Yes, we did.
And, even today, we have a shortage of home builders,
Yep.
a shortage of people to, just help us with, the electricians and the plumbers and all the specialty jobs that
Yep.
all left.
Yep.
And so now we're scrambling, and builders are challenged to even get all the work done, and we're like, come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
It's crazy.
You have a job now.
Yeah, I know some people waiting for homes have had to wait an extra 3, 4, 6 months down the road because there isn't those folks to the drywallers and the carpet carpenters that are there. So I do know that there is also, and I don't know how true this is, but we did hear about it from Tina, that the builders aren't building quite as fast as they were. And some of that is that they're not getting their permits.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Particularly, there's certain towns that have rolled it out where they only disperse a certain number at a certain time
Yeah.
just in order to not have it go too crazy all at once.
Right. I think we learned that in the early 2000s.
We learned a lot.
Yes, and I think the municipalities are they very much are aware of that because they were affected as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's crazy how much they were affected because when people foreclosed and left their homes, that left a gap in paying for the municipalities
Everything.
for streets and wastewater treatment plants and everything that goes with a city. So it did affect everybody. It wasn't just the buying and selling of a home. It was everything that goes with that as well.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Because these changes have kept us on our toes, and they've been happening a lot very quickly.
Yep.
And I think that there's so much misinformation out there that it's easy to get scared
Yeah.
because of this change. But that's why talking to somebody who really knows what's going on and saying, are we in a bubble? Is this not affordable? What's happening? Because even if you look at this, a chart that we don't have, is had we had a 3% appreciation per year starting in 2000 to where we are today,
Yep.
we would be just at that very top top on that 3%, which is still considered healthy appreciation.
Right.
So it hasn't been an insane appreciation overall. We're just watching it, saying what's happening. So you need to have somebody who can really look at that whole picture with you.
Right. So really, it boils down to Arizona is still affordable. We still have tons of jobs available here, and high tech jobs. It's not just the little mom and pop jobs. We've got some huge growth here for a lot of big business. We have a lot of colleges that are coming in, smaller colleges that are. I mean, we have our 4 big ones that we normally do, but we have a lot of companies, colleges coming here that are more tech related and more geared toward a specific field. So there's a lot of engineering, lots of things to look for. So Arizona is still very affordable, even though we don't have a lot of inventory on homes, and even though homes prices are going up. Like Tina said, now is the time to buy, because if you wait another 2, 3, 4 months down the road, it's going to be even higher, and the inventory is going to be even. The inventory is going to be lower, and competition is going to be much higher at that point.
Exactly. And there are options. It doesn't have to look like HGTV.
Right.
You can move in and start benefiting from that home ownership.
Absolutely.
In a house that maybe needs a little bit of work.
Right. And there are loan products out there to help facilitate some of those things, which I don't think a lot of people know. That's why it's good to talk to a lender right away, because they can tell you right up front, you can do a normal, regular, conventional financing like you always have done, or we can wrap some of those repairs, carpet, paint in that loan to bring it up to value. So, so we definitely, now is definitely the time to buy a home.
Yes.
And of course, for those folks that are either downsizing and or moving in with family members, seniors that are maybe having to move into assisted living or memory care communities, now's the time to get top dollar for their house.
Absolutely. You make a huge point. This is the time to do it. This is the time to go to a real estate professional who knows what's going on, not just trying to connect with whatever's the easiest at the time. No, this is very huge.
Right.
Good point.
And I think too, a lot of folks don't realize that all you need to do is educate yourself. And if you find a home that maybe a senior has lived in for 40 years and maybe they haven't upgraded it, it's pretty easy to put new carpet and paint in and get new appliances. That kind of stuff is super, super easy to do. So go out and consider looking at some of those homes that would benefit you to have that appreciation right away, even if it's not the perfect, move-in ready house. So
you can make it yours.
Yes, exactly. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for this information. I know it was a lot of information. So if anybody wants supporting documents on this, you have offered to get the information. So
of course.
The best way to reach you would be you can do email or by phone, correct?
Yeah, call, text.
Okay. So the phone number for you, Sarah, is 480-707-8946. And then give us your email address, too.
It is S. Perkins. That stands for Sarah Perkins. So SPERKINS at LTIC.com, and that stands for Lawyers Title Insurance Corporation.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And
Thanks, Lydia.
We'll have you back on again because you're a wealth of information.
Thanks, Lydia. I appreciate you.
So that's it for Solving Life's Next Chapter, and we will see you next time with some more great information.